What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Friday, by the way. Hopefully you guys got a good weekend lined up. I apologize. I am a little bit under the weather. You can kind of tell in the sound of my voice. But I wanted to cover this really quick free event that's happening here from Plarium. And yeah, it's going to be happening in 2 days. But we do have this reward calendar in game. You guys can click it and check it out. I'm just going to put on screen what Plarium has said about this event. So, hey folks, the reward calendar is back. We upgraded it with a greater number of guaranteed rewards and an expanded pool that includes gemstones, epic and legendary gear, and more valuable goodies. You'll be able to claim up to 25 rewards from the reward calendar, with the first reward available on February 9th. So February 9th is also the first day of the fusion. So we do see Solara here and Noldula. Both of them are in this reward calendar image. So it's kind of interesting that they would, highlight these particularly. I think the last time we got one of these, I believe it was for the Wand of Submission, and I believe it was around the Community Weeks timeline. I think with the Luxor, or sorry, Ludex Ultor. I believe it was sometime around last April or last May. We did have a guaranteed event reward calendar as well. So they're bringing it back. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with this. It just forces us to log in every day. The final reward will be available on March 5th. Just as the previous time, some rewards can only be claimed on the day they are released, and some are claimable even if you missed the login on a particular day and they are released on. Okay, so that's, a little bit of flexibility there if you miss a day, for example. You will have until March 8th to claim all the guaranteed rewards if you missed any of them, so it gives you a couple extra days. So make sure to log in each day for the reward calendar not to miss anything. The reward calendar itself will be launched on the 6th of February to start the voting process for the final gift, a relic. And this is the thing that we want to talk about a little bit in this video. And the vote will be basically open until March 1st, and then we can decide which relic we want. So yeah, this is the calendar here, and then we can go into the voting phase, and this is already happening right now. So people have been able to vote for these relics. We got a couple legendary relics here. They're all damage focused relics, which is kind of cool. I realized that my account, for example, like sometimes we're lacking like damage relics for whatever reason. I don't know, or at least half decent ones. These ones are decent. These two are decent. So the Gore Crescent and the Quencher. The collective, I wouldn't say it's definitely very niche or potentially very terrible. So we'll quickly talk about these two here, which are the front runners, but it looks like the Gore Crescent is running away with it. So we got the Gore Crescent here. It's from the Chimera group, which is important because we are evaluating also how rare these relics are. So for example, the Chimera group is one of the more common groups that you're going to get relics from. Obviously, as an end game player, I'm getting a lot of Chimera materials, but if you're just starting out in the game, you're not going to get a lot of Chimera materials. But over the long run, as you progress your account, you'll be starting to get more and more Chimera materials, and then getting more opportunity at getting the Gore Crescent. On the other hand, the Essence Quencher is a clan group relic, and this is one that you actually don't get very often. You actually just don't get a lot of these materials very often. You can buy some in the shop. You can win them from CVC, for example. But yeah, you just don't get a lot of these materials, so you're not going to get a lot of Essence Quenchers. And then lastly, the Faction Wars group for the collective. Since you're getting materials basically every day, if you can do hard Faction Wars, then this would probably show up a little bit more often than, for example, the Essence Quencher. But for sure, the Chimera group would show up way more. So keep that in mind as we evaluate each one of these. Now I'm trying to look at it at a kind of early game or mid game kind of player perspective here. So the first stat for the Gore Crescent is attack versus the Essence Quencher crit damage. So the crit damage, main stat for the Essence Quencher is actually significantly better than having attack, because attack only really benefits attack-based damage dealers, whereas crit damage can benefit all damage dealers. Now, they both end up with crit damage and attack as you level them up to level 9, which may or may not be possible depending where you are in your, your account progress. It might not be possible or reasonable for you to level up this relic to level 9. So if you have a very early account, perhaps Essence Quencher right away with the crit damage would be the most beneficial for you. Now at level 15, Chimera, this Gore Crescent is going to be way better because you get speed. But I don't really recommend going to 15 with like this type of relic. It's just not strong enough in my opinion compared to some of the other relics out there. So best to save your basalts for even stronger relics in your roster. But level 12, level 9 is very reasonable. So you have crit damage here and then attack. So both of them will be for best for attack based damage dealers. Now they both deal damage or more damage in kind of different ways. So the Gore Crescent makes your next attack after killing an enemy do more damage. So it starts at 20% and then it's going to scale up. Let's jump into my account and then let's see where I got my Gore Crescents on. So full equipped, and then we're going to hop down to Gore Crescent. So I have a couple Gore Crescents here. You see like one of them is not even leveled up. So I have three. So three of them. I have them on, one of them is on Ieyasu, and then one of them is on Taras. Taras is kind of in a, he's kind of like in a tune team for the event dungeon right now. So he's going to AoE, kill a bunch of stuff. And then he's going to get his A2 boosted up after killing stuff. So his A2 is going to finish off the boss. And that's kind of how it works. I just put Gore Crescent on him because I just didn't have another better damage dealing relic. Somebody like Ieyasu, I have it on him as well. Ieyasu has extra turn mechanics. So he's going to get this bonus pretty much right away as long as you can kill somebody. And he is a really, really good void affinity damage dealer as well. So I do have it on him, and he is, you know, a champion that can definitely benefit from this Gore Crescent mechanic, right? So you get 20% to start, and then if you go up to level 12, for example, you get 35% additional damage. You know, it's significant, right? It's significant once you get the kill. The problem is having a champion geared out so that it can actually get the kill and then chain off the Gore Crescent ability. Basically, your next attack will deal more damage. Hopefully you get another kill, and then you get another kill, and so forth. Usually for the end game application for this, what people do is you put them on champions with big splash damage. For example, Wukong, Sigfried, Baron. These champions will basically kill one enemy, and then the splash damage will all benefit from the boosted damage here. So that's kind of like the end game application of it. But if you're just starting out new, you're probably not going to have a champion that strong. And if you do, then you're kind of probably tackling a difficulty level that's too weak for your account. So I find the Gore Crescent a little bit, a little bit more catered towards endgame players, since they can utilize this kill effect a little bit more better. Now we can take that against the Essence Quencher here. I only have one Essence Quencher. I don't know if it's just bad luck or what, but I only have one. So I have it on Raphael. So the wearer's damage is increased by 20% of the target's current turn meter. And then it's a very small incremental upgrade for every level. So right now I have it at level 12, and he is going to be capped out at 16% extra damage. And that only occurs if the 20% of the target's turn meter is reached. So 20% of the target's turn meter to max out 16%, you need 90% turn meter, I think, on the enemy. And then you'll have the max 16%. It's also less effective against bosses, but you do basically get a bonus every time you attack. You get some kind of bonus because usually, the enemy will have some kind of turn meter, so you get some kind of damage. Whereas the Gore Crescent, you're not going to get consistent damage all the time because it does rely on you to kill something first. So you can kind of view it that way. Depending on your account, having the consistent damage might actually be better, to be honest. Also, in a one-on-one boss fight, the Essence Quencher actually gives you some damage as opposed to the Gore Crescent, which you're not going to get any damage from because you're not killing anything, and you're not getting the additional damage after killing stuff. The other thing to consider is the placement of the crit damage and the attack. We did mention this briefly, but having the crit damage in the first stat is way, way better for weaker accounts, basically accounts with no food, can't level it up past level, whatever, lower levels. But as soon as you hit level 9, then you're going to be getting both the crit damage and the attack. And then the last thing we want to talk about is these gem slots. So I kind of like the gem slots on the Essence Quencher a little bit better because you got 2 diamonds as opposed to 2 circles from the Gore Crescent. So the circles, you can put some of these nicer, these legendary and mythical gems, which are really, really good. So for example, you can put the boss layer gem, which is really good against bosses, but the Gore Crescent's not used against bosses, right? And then we can use this dungeon delver, which is really good because it boosts your damage against dungeons. And this is kind of where the Gore Crescent shines a bit, where you get 2 of these legendary gems, and then they do quite a bit of damage. But we're talking legendary gems here, right? So not everybody's going to be able to maximize these gem slots with legendary gems. So if you can't, if you don't have like this level of progress on your account where you can pick up some legendary gems, namely this Dungeon Delver one, then the Gore Crescent loses a lot of value because most of these circle gems are not significantly great at boosting damage. Like you get a little bit of, a reduction here from bosses, but again, you're not using the Gore Crescent against bosses. You get a little bit of accuracy here. You get this one, which is probably the most budget friendly damage one. You get 5% against enemies with full HP, which could be useful, I guess. But if we take a look at the Essence Quencher here, we're looking at diamonds. So 2 diamond slots. It gives you a lot more offensively oriented gems, right? So this one you deal more damage when counterattacking. It's again offense focused. This one also very offense focused. So after you kill an enemy, the next attack deals 12% more. Ignores 12% of the target's defense, which is awesome. But basically you get 2 of these diamond gems, and most of the diamond gems are just, offensively oriented. So for example, you have even something like Unrelenting Power. When using multi-hits, each consecutive hit after the first one makes you deal 3% more damage. It's just really, really good. Just solid. These are like uncommon gems or whatever. Even this one is actually really, really good, especially if you have a fast farm team. So right away, before the enemy takes a turn, your first attack deals 10% more damage. For an epic gem, it's actually very, very crazy. We have crit damage boosting gems here in the rare category. So more people will have these rare gems, which again makes it way more, newer player friendly. And even this ignores 3% of the target's defense if the target's under 2 or more debuffs. This is pretty easy to hit, right? This is two debuff conditions, very easy to hit. And then you get an extra 3% ignore defense. And you can put 2 of these gems. So actually my Titus has 2 of these gems slotted in. And that's an extra 6% ignore defense. That's really solid, especially for a rare socketed gem. It's very, very, way more accessible for just, regular players, right? Anyways, guys, hopefully I was able to kind of distinguish which one is, could be more beneficial for your account. I personally feel that the Essence Quencher, I think, is going to be a better relic for more people than the Gore Crescent. Because like I said, the Gore Crescent probably needs a highly progressed account to utilize killing an enemy and then benefiting from the extra damage. And I think if you're at that level, the Gore Crescent might not actually be the best relic for you anymore. Whereas the Essence Quencher, I think you're just going to get a small damage boost for everything, all applications. And then, of course, you get 2 triangle damage gem slots, which is going to be a lot easier to access for most people because you get some pretty high quality damage boosts from lower rarity triangle gems, as opposed to having, to look for higher rarity circle gems to give you damage. For example, the Dungeon Delver, which is a legendary. So I think personally for most people from mid or early mid game, maybe even late game, the Essence Quencher is probably going to be the better relic. It's going to give you a smaller boost. It's not as big as the Gore Crescent, for example. But I think the Gore Crescent's condition, I think, really, really limits its usefulness for people. And also the fact that the Essence Quencher is actually way harder to get. So eventually you'll get a Gore Crescent anyways. But the Essence Quencher is going to be really, really hard to get. Some people might never get it, to be honest. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Hopefully I pleaded my case a little bit. Now the third relic in this calendar is actually called the Collective. The Collective is interesting. It's another damage dealing relic, but I think it's significantly worse. Like if you just read this, you deal 1% more damage per buff on them. So for example, you could go all the way up to 10 buffs on your champion. I'm just gonna dig it up here. I do have the Collective on my account. I think I have 1. Oh, I have 2. I'm the unfortunate person with 2. But yeah, where it deals 1% more damage for a buff on them, and then you can boost it up 0.5%. So let's say you go to level 12, you're getting an extra 2.5% per buff, which means if you have 10 buffs, that's 25% more damage. But when you attack, you remove all the buffs from the wearer at the end of the turn. Now that's a pretty big drawback, just for 25% damage. I mean, it's really big. And personally speaking, I don't really see a situation where you can kind of prevent that from happening. If there is some kind of weird interaction in the game where you can prevent the buffs from being removed by this relic, I think perhaps this can be abused. But right now, I don't think so. Personally speaking, I haven't really tested this extensively, so I don't really know. But if you guys know, let me know in the comments below if there is some kind of weird way you can actually use this so that you don't lose the buffs. But also, this is a relic that requires some setup. It's going to be not generally as useful, not generally as powerful as something like I said, like the Essence Quencher, which is just going to give you a flat, small damage boost all the time. Whereas you have conditional damage boost from the collective, and then you have conditional damage boost from the Gore Crescent. So like I said, in a generic build, generic damage deal, generic team, the Essence Quencher is going to be your best bet. Okay. All right, guys. So hopefully that was relayed to you guys in a coherent way. I'm really excited for this, but as an end game player, none of these is going to really turn the needle for me. I would love another Essence Quencher just because I think it's the slightly better one. I have a couple Gore Crescents already. As you progress in the game, you're going to get more and more of them. But it looks like, we're going to be getting another Gore Crescent. But I'm going to put my vote here for the Essence Quencher. And yeah, there you go. I put the money where my mouth is. Anyways, guys, hopefully this video was informative for you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for watching until the end, and I'll see you guys in the next video.